Hello everyone and welcome to another video. So today I will be attempting to color using my Prismacolor Premier colored pencils, which I had bought a few weeks ago, and I am kind of nervous to use these because even though they're just colored pencils, I have tried swatching them out and kind of did a test piece with them, and they are incredibly saturated, super creamy and soft, and very easy to lay down. So this will be an interesting experience, especially because I am worried that with the saturation it might be a little bit too much saturated, since some of the colors I am hoping to have like lighter or like more muted tones. So we will see how this goes, but I had actually lined this piece on Instagram as an Instagram live, and it's just of my two original characters, Rain and Denzel. And I know with the series I want to try to keep these videos short, so I might just color Rain, and for Denzel I might just do that on Instagram live or just as my own personal coloring session where I'm not filming. But I hope that you guys are doing well. Feel free to grab a sketchbook or something to work on, and hopefully you can join me. So I did swatch out these colors on a separate page, so I might be flipping back and forth just to reference the colors, but we will go from there and hopefully everything works out. Unfortunately for Rain, he does have dark, like tan colored skin, and I don't see any color that really works well with that. So hopefully I will be able to draw light enough, because this color is a little bit too dark, but we will see how it goes. And then today for the music, I am playing the Nier Automata piano collections. Okay, so far we are doing well. I've realized that I don't have my pencil sharpener, so I am going to quickly go grab that. It's across the room at my other table, so I will be right back. Alright, so we will keep this here just in case I need to use it. Since when I was doing a test piece using these colored pencils, I realized that the point dulls quite quickly, but I think that is pretty normal for colored pencils. And I think I've mentioned in a previous video, but I have never used like more professional grade colored pencils. My extent of colored pencil use is like with Crayola. So I'm not sure if like it's just a common thing that because these are really soft core, like easy to lay down colors, that the nib just wears down incredibly quickly. And so far I think this color is working pretty well. I think with Rain's skin it has more of a red hue, so I might try to mix this with a more tan color. And I did do an OC series where I talked about both Rain and Denzel, so if you guys are interested in checking out that video, if you haven't seen it already, I will post a link down below in the description, as well as a card on screen if you guys are interested in checking that out. But basically Rain is a like new fully fledged summoner, and Denzel is his familiar, and Denzel is a siren. And I mentioned in their videos that I really wish that I could do some sort of like comic for them, because I really like their story, and I like the relationship that they have, and just their interactions is really fun, and I hope that one day I can kind of capture that in just like a mini comic series. But because I'm just so incredibly busy with work, and when I do have free time, it's kind of like trying to figure out how I want to use that free time because it's so limited. But one of these days, maybe I'll just break it down to like really short, like 4-panel style comics. I actually used to do a lot of comics when I was part of a roleplay and art group on DeviantArt, but that was all digital, and even that was really time consuming. I had done that when I was in med school, and thinking back, it's like, wow, I don't know how I had the time to put out those comics, but it worked, so maybe it'll work now that I'm in residency. And I'm just gonna adjust this music because it is a little bit loud. Granted, I don't know how much is getting picked up from the phone, so hopefully there isn't too much of an imbalance between me talking and the background music. I'm also still very on the fence if I want to buy a pack of 24 Col-Erase on Amazon, because right now the price is like under $13. And I'm like, wow, that's a steal. And I feel like I've heard a lot of good things about Col-Erase colored pencils. They're also by Prismacolor, I believe. And I know a lot of people like using them for sketching. And even though I use mechanical pencil with different colors when I'm sketching, I feel like it would be fun to just use just colored pencils, because sometimes, like, as much as I really like using mechanical pencils, sometimes I feel this urge to like just use traditional pencils. So I'm thinking of getting them, but I'm like, I don't know if it's worth it, especially because I'm already using colored lead for my mechanical pencils, but it would be a different kind of texture. So if you guys have used Prismacolor Col-Erase pencils, let me know if you recommend them, if they're fun, or what purposes you use them for. I actually have 3, which I have right here. So these I had bought in open stock, and they are really nice. But I was like, oh, maybe I'll just get the full like 24 set. That way I could also color with them, since they're more waxy in texture. And I don't think they're as vibrant as these Prismacolor Premier ones that I'm using. So I just feel like it would be a different experience, and it'd be fun to use like colored sketches, but then also I could use them for like just coloring purposes. But yeah, let me know if you guys have used them before and if you would recommend them, because I'm still very much on the fence, because I'm like, well, when I sketch, I just use my mechanical pencils, but maybe once in a while I'll want to use like an actual pencil. And I think so far the color is doing pretty well. I might go over it with like a tan color just to see if I'm able to add more of like a reddish hue to his skin. Let's check the my swatches. Okay, so it looks like it would be this color. Guess we could try it first in a not as conspicuous area. I think that's a little bit too yellow. I don't know if my camera is capturing it, but it looks a little too yellow. Maybe if I add like the peach, because this peach is actually fairly dark if you lay it down enough. It doesn't add too much of a difference, but it does seem to make it a little bit more red, so I think I'll just add this over all of the places that I've already colored. And I think that's the thing about colored pencils, is that they could be really tedious to use, especially when you want to get like nice blending, or if you're trying to mix colors. And for me, because I only have the 24 set, I have a very limited color palette, so I'll have to rely a lot on just mixing colors to try to get the tone that I want. But I definitely swatched all the colors out first to see if I had at least most of the colors before coloring this, and I think it's gonna work. It'll be interesting though because this peach color is actually, as I mentioned, it is quite vibrant. So I will have to go very lightly over Denzel's skin when I get to him, because he does have very pale skin. But I don't think I'll be doing that in this video just for time's sake. And I also want to mention that I appreciate the feedback that you guys have been giving me so far on these videos. It sounds like you guys have been enjoying them. I'm still getting kind of mixed opinions on the timing of the videos. So I will try to do some that are longer and then others that are more short. That would be my goal. And I think for the short ones, maybe those will be like just pure, like just sketches, very loose drawings, nothing fancy like coloring or doing line art. It would just be like just drawing and doodling from scratch. And so those would be very unfinished pieces, but I think that's the only way that I would be able to do a like 10 to 15 minute video. And I was thinking that if I do end up getting the Col-Erase colored pencils, that maybe I could try out each one by doing like really quick sketches, like maybe just like headshots or something, and then use that kind of for my 10 to 15 minute long videos. Okay, I can't tell if that really made much of a difference, but I think for the most part his skin looks pretty close to how I want it to be. I guess you could kind of say that this drawing could be considered part of like the short comic, or maybe just small doodles showing their interactions, since I wanted to capture kind of like Denzel and Rain's first meeting. So in their universe, basically, Rain is in like the summoner school, and kind of after you complete your like formal school training and are ready to become like a full-fledged summoner, you kind of go through this rite of passage where your final like test or exam is to be able to summon your own familiar, since if you're going to graduate from summoning school, you should have a familiar so that you can go out and actually be a summoner. And for Rain, I can't remember if I had mentioned this in his OC video, but Rain is half human and half elf. So because of his human part of him, he does not have as much like intrinsic magical abilities or capabilities, since humans, of course, do not have any magical abilities. So that makes things more difficult for him when he is going through school compared to his peers who are like pure blood, like magical beings, because he is unable to really draw from the same level of intrinsic power that they have. So he was kind of hoping that he would be able to make up for it by having like this all-powerful familiar. And so he's initially quite disappointed with Denzel, because Denzel is a siren, and to Rain he's just like, oh my gosh, this is like just some half human, half fish thing, and not the all-powerful being that I was hoping to get. So he's initially a bit disappointed that he wasn't paired with like a more powerful familiar. And initially I think Denzel does not get along with Rain, just because Rain, being a new summoner, he has like all of these ideas of what a summoner should be and what a familiar should be able to do for their summoner. And so he has expectations, I think, that are a few of them are just like too idealistic. And Denzel is more of a free spirit and does not like being told what to do. So when Rain initially meets him and kind of lays down his expectations, Denzel is just not happy with that. But I would think that eventually they learn to work together. And I hope that one day I will be able to put out comics to kind of show that growth and just show their interactions over time. looks like we have already hit our 15-minute mark, and I am nowhere done with this piece. So I guess this video is just going to be another really long one. So for those of you who were hoping for a shorter video, I apologize. But again, I think it will be much easier to do a more condensed video if I were to just do like a sketching, like pure sketch with me session, as opposed to trying to work on these more finished pieces. I was originally planning to just do this piece off cam, but then I realized like this is the coloring portion of it, and I feel like that is usually a more fun video to watch compared to like a sketching video or a line art video, so I wanted to film this for you guys. And also, as always, feel free to comment down below how you guys are doing, what you've been up to. I know, at least where I'm at, schools have started to resume, and unfortunately, due to the lack of like a centralized, standardized like layout of what school looks like in the face of a pandemic, makes it very difficult. So each school is left to their own devices in terms of figuring out, like, do they want it online only? Do they want to do a hybrid classroom? Do they want to try in person? And it's difficult, even as a provider, trying to talk with parents about what is considered, you know, the best thing for their child. Because on one hand, from a safety standpoint, yes, if you are going to have your child at school, you're at a higher risk of getting COVID or getting sick, especially because COVID manifests in so many different ways, and is even different for all ages. So you could range from being completely asymptomatic and not have any symptoms at all, but still be considered infectious. And then there's the other extreme where you end up with huge, like, multi-organ, like, dysfunction and impairment, sometimes leading to having to get intubated and put on a mechanical ventilator. And an interesting thing that I learned while at the hospital, since I'm currently at the Children's Hospital, is that with COVID, they talk about how you have a lot of respiratory symptoms like shortness of breath, just difficulty breathing, and all of that. But that's actually a more common thing in adults than kids. So when kids have COVID, they more commonly have symptoms of GI upset. So they might have like diarrhea, they might be vomiting, and I just think it's just so interesting that in adults, it seems that respiratory symptoms are more predominant, but then in kids, like gastrointestinal stuff tends to be more predominant. And at our hospital, we actually get emails, I think once a week, basically just keeping us updated with the numbers, both at our hospital and our county, as well as our state. And it's just so sad because, like, the numbers are increasing by the week. So I guess all that is to say, COVID is still running rampant, at least here in the United States. So please continue to wear masks, please continue to social distance, and please continue to stay home as much as you can if you're able to. I know it is not fun at all to be so isolated and to not be able to hang out and see your loved ones. And I know a lot of people are just, overall, they're just tired. They're sick and tired of having to wear a mask and follow all of these guidelines, but like, COVID is still running rampant, and I think it's hard to realize that when you're not in the medical field, because as just someone from the general public, like, you really don't see the sick people. You don't get to see the hospital, and you don't see patients being intubated on a mechanical ventilator because they cannot breathe on their own anymore. But just trust me that the situation is still pretty serious. And of course, because of HIPAA and patient safety and confidentiality, it's not like I could show you, like, here is what a patient with COVID looks like. But if I could, I feel like that would just give people a better idea of what it's like. And like, even when I'm not seeing patients who have COVID, like, we have just so many policies right now in place at the hospital. We are wearing face masks 24/7 whenever we are on site. We are wearing face shields for high-risk patients. And the face shield isn't even to protect us from getting transmitted, from the disease transmitting to us. We're literally wearing face shields to protect our surgical mask that we are wearing, because we only get a mask once a week, and it has to last us for all 7 days before we get a new one. So we wear a face shield to keep that mask intact and as safe, I guess, or as like uncontaminated as possible. And then on top of that, we are using like these wipes to wipe down our face shields after every patient encounter that we use them for. And these wipes apparently cause cancer. So we are literally putting ourselves at risk of getting skin cancer by using these wipes to clean our face masks or our face shields. And I just wish, like, for the people who are out there convinced that COVID is a hoax or that it's nothing to worry about and that people need to just stop like fear mongering or whatever, like, I wish they could see, like, us as physicians and healthcare workers, like the nurses and everyone who works at the hospital, like, we are putting a lot on the line to take care of these patients. And we would appreciate if you guys could please try to stay healthy and just minimize the risk of spreading COVID. It would do us such a huge favor, because we're really doing a lot behind the scenes at the hospital that I think these people do not realize. But anyways, I'm gonna get off my soapbox because I know a lot of people can have very strong feelings about what's been going on. But I just feel like, as someone in the healthcare field, it's really important to kind of give you guys that perspective, because I assume that most of you do not work in the healthcare setting and are not familiar with, you know, what's been going on and what the latest updates are. So I just want to, again, just be very open about communication and just talk about what's been going on, and to just ask you to please do your part. Help us out, help us save lives, stay home when you can, wear your mask when you're out, social distance. But yeah, that is all I have to say about that. And back to this piece. So something that I wish this 24 set of Prismacolor colored pencils would have is a gray color. So there's a white colored pencil, but no gray, and I feel like I would much rather have a white or a gray than a white, because I feel like most people use colored pencils on white paper and not so much like toned or craft paper. So that would be a lot more helpful to have a gray. And I tried using my mechanical pencil for gray, but it's just too dark. So it is what it is. I also really like this pencil sharpener because, as you could see, it is very tiny, but it works quite well. I had bought this, I think, at like a Kinokuniya. It's a Japanese bookstore. And I wanted it because not only is it pink and just really cute, but I was like, oh, it's very portable. So, yep, there's that. If I knew the name of the pencil sharpener, I would tell you guys, but unfortunately I don't. I think it was just like in an open stock of other colors And at the time I was like, I don't have a pencil sharpener. So, and I think that was when I tried like watercolor colored pencils. So I wanted a pencil sharpener to use for that. I feel like I'm still very inconsistent when it comes to drawing Rain's summoning staff. It's funny because it's like I know what the general shape is supposed to be, but every time I draw it, it's always different. I'm not sure how well I'm going to be able to do shading with these colored pencils. I mean, when I was swatching it out, like, you could definitely get a very large range of like lightness to how saturated it is. Sorry, I do not know all of the proper terms. But you could get a pretty wide spread. So I feel like if I just press down hard enough, I could get some shadows. So maybe we'll try some of that. Also, I don't know how many of you have played Nier or Nier Automata, but the music is just so incredible. I haven't personally played it, but I have watched Let's Plays of both the original Nier. I think, so the original Nier, when you play as Nier, you can either be, like one version, I think the Japanese version, Nier is like the brother, and then the US version, you play Nier as like the father figure. And I want to say that they are they doing a reboot? I can't remember, but I thought they had mentioned that they were going to do a reboot of the original Nier, which would be incredible. I highly recommend both games. The original Nier, the gameplay is a little bit clunky. Of course, I didn't play it, but the Let's Play that I watched, like, you could definitely see that. And like even the people who are playing it, I think I was watching like Best Friends play. That's the name of their YouTube channel, I believe. And they were constantly talking about how clunky the gameplay was. But out of the two, I feel like I liked the original a lot better. The story was just more satisfying at the end, I think. I think it resolved really well. And like Nier Automata also had an incredible storyline, and both have like a ton of plot twists, and like the storytelling is just so well done. So I feel like Nier Automata had a more exciting storyline, and like the plot twist was like more mind-blowing. But I think at the end of it, like I was just more satisfied with the original Nier storyline. I mean, both were still very, very good, and Nier Automata is such a pretty game. And like the gameplay mechanics are beautiful, and the music for both are incredible. And I want to say Nier Automata had won like video game soundtrack of the year or whatever, and rightfully so, because it's just so beautiful. Like, I could go on forever talking about Nier and Nier Automata. So if you guys play video games and haven't played it or have heard of it and have been meaning to play it, like, I highly recommend it. It is an incredible series. And I think the interesting thing is that with Nier, so with the music that has vocals, they actually created their own like language for the vocals. So there are some elements that are like English or French or German, but overall it's like it's a language that does not exist. And yet like they are still able to convey such like emotion and beauty in their songs, even though it's like I have no idea what they're singing about, but like it's still so like thought-provoking and just so emotionally driven. It's just so beautiful. But speaking of music, so Kingdom Hearts Melody of Music, I think is what it's called, is coming out soon. And I saw the trailer and I'm like, oh man, I wish I had a Nintendo Switch to play it. It's also coming out, I think, on Xbox and the PS4, but my PS4 is back home with my parents and I don't have a TV at my current apartment, so that just wouldn't work out. And I feel like because I'm just so busy, it'd just be easier to be able to play on a like handheld console. But as most of you probably know, with COVID going on, Nintendo Switches are like sold out everywhere. And so it's like nearly impossible to get one at a reasonable price. But I was like, man, like, I think I would buy one to be able to play Kingdom Hearts, the Melody of Music. I don't remember. But it's coming out in November, which is super exciting. And yeah, so that's just me ranting about my love for video games. We are already past 30 minutes. I don't know if it's just because I'm talking so much and that's making me really slow at coloring, but we are closer to being done. I wanted to film this one because I figured like Rain has a lot of white color for his palette, and so I was like, okay, so it's not gonna take too long to color this in, but lo and behold, we're already at like 33 minutes and I'm still not done. I'm trying to do some very basic shading. It's weird because I tell myself like I should just shade it as if this was like a digital piece, but that is not helping. I'm still like, oh, I don't know where I should put the shadows, but hopefully it will turn out all right. I was doing a lot of art today, so I have this weekend off, even though I had last weekend off, but I think the chief residence gave me this weekend off because on Friday I had a 9-hour practice board exam and it was just so mentally draining. Granted, I didn't try that hard because it's just a baseline and I have 4 years to show improvement. So even though it was 9 hours, I think I blew through it in like 6.5 hours. And I'm just in no mental state to be taking a 9-hour exam. So I didn't try that hard. I was like, okay, I'll just read the question, answer with my first like gut response and leave it at that and try not to think too hard on it. But even then, like, it was just so exhausting. And I like dozed off halfway through because I'm like, I don't want to be doing this anymore. And we were taking it remotely, and so we had to Zoom conference and have our like videos on the entire time that we were taking this exam. So yeah, It was not fun, but I'm glad that it's done and over with. I don't have to worry about it for another year. So that was how I spent Friday. But then it was nice because like the exam started at like 8 a.m. and then I finished it like before 2:30. I like completely skipped all of the built-in like 10-minute breaks between questions. So it was a total of 300 questions, and each block was like 50 questions long, and then you would get like 10 minutes between each block of 50. But I like just blew through it. I was like, I don't care. I just want to get this done and over with. But then it was nice because then I had the afternoon off, and now I have the weekend. But then that also means that starting Monday, I have to work 12 days straight. And our service, so right now I'm doing the general pediatric service. So we are admitting pretty much anyone who does not fall under the subspecialty category. So we have kiddos ranging all the way from like drug overdose and intoxication to like eating disorders or psychiatric disorders to like fevers or like anything that a child could come in for. And I'm actually on the COVID team. I don't know if any of our patients actively have COVID, but basically to reduce the number of people kind of exposing themselves to COVID, we just have a single team that takes in anyone who comes in with any suspicion of COVID. So that's my team. But yeah, so I'm like, okay, I gotta make the most of this weekend, even though I was off last weekend, so it feels really weird. And I kind of wish that I had that I was working this weekend, just to kind of get it done and over with so I could have a free weekend after my 12-day stretch. But it is what it is, so I'll be working 12 days starting on Monday before my next break. And it's funny because I feel like I just have so much more free time this weekend because I had done all of my chores last weekend when I was off. So it's like, oh, I don't have to vacuum. I don't have to, like, I don't know, clean the bathtub. And I truly just got to relax yesterday and today. I have been doing a lot of drawing and trying to like multitask by like binge watching Shaman King, which I've mentioned in my previous video that I'm just super hyped because the reboot is coming out in the spring. So I'm like slowly making my way through the original that came out in like 2001-ish, I think. But of course, it's very hard to try to like read subtitles and multitask like and do things even like with just drawing. I found that I was just very slow with trying to like draw this morning and try to read the subtitles at the same time. Alright, I think that should be good in terms of the black. I don't know what I'm gonna do for his hair because like even when I color this very lightly with the black, it still looks black. I guess I could try the white to kind of blend it, or maybe I'll just use like a periwinkle kind of color to do his shading instead. Let me just check. Yeah, I might just use blue. Pencil sharpening ASMR for any of you guys who enjoy that sound. Okay. Hopefully this will look normal using a blue. I think so far it looks pretty okay. I'll adjust this camera a bit. I think I'm gonna have to do the same with his robe because that's white. So I might just do blue as like a shadow. And also for his eyes. I'm like trying to finish this quickly because I know we're already over 40 minutes. And I think that's the longest that I've gone. But let me know if you guys like these longer videos, because if not, then I might just do this on Instagram Live. And then just do like quicker, just like sketches and upload that for my channel. Because clearly trying to condense these into 15 minutes is not working so well. Readjust so you guys can see. It's gonna be a little bit shaky because I'm holding this camera because it's otherwise one of the legs would be completely off the table. I just realized I need to shade his skin. Whoops. I got so caught up with trying to mix in a pink to give his skin a more red hue that I forgot to actually like do shading. Okay. I actually really like using this blue to create the shadows. It definitely is more interesting than gray, but I still think it would be nice to have a gray. Okay. We are almost done. Just have to do his pants and this rope, and then add the shading to his skin. So maybe this will be a near 1 hour video. Okay. I'm just trying to add some texture to this rope. Okay. But yeah, let me know in the comments if you guys have been drawing along or what you've been doing as you work alongside me. And then if you are working on art and you post it on social media, such as Instagram or Twitter, you are free to tag me so I can see what you've been working on. Okay, I need to check the swatch for his pants color. Okay. So it looks like this one is probably going to be the most promising. Might have to mix it with brown to give it kind of like a more muted khaki look. See if there's a way for me to stabilize this. And I could definitely spend more time trying to add texture to this, but in the interest of time, I might just go back and fix this up off cam. We'll see. Trying to add more texture. I think I'm gonna try to blend it with a brown. Why don't we try the same brown we used for his skin? Let's see if this will work. If I had a gray, I would kind of blend that in as well, because I want to say his pants are not this like golden tan colored. Oops, sorry. I think that is good enough. Trying to add some shadowing to give his pants more texture because they're kind of like pleated. Kind of like Terra from Kingdom Hearts Birth of Sleep is how I imagine his pants to be like. I think that will have to do. And then we're just gonna quickly go over his skin. Add some shading. I actually really like how the glove came out in terms of the shading. All right, we're about 5 minutes from the 1 hour mark. Let's see if we can get it done before then. This pencil is dulling quickly. Just quickly sharpen it. This shading method is similar to what I do when I color skin digitally. You kind of start dark and kind of lighten up. And we are done, at least to my knowledge. I'm just gonna pan and show you guys more close-up detail. But thank you again for sticking around if you have made it this far. I hope that you guys had a productive session, whatever you were doing along with me, whether it was drawing or working on something else. But I hope that you guys have a good rest of the night, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye!